Go ahead and get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll do roll call. Myers. Here. Foley. Here. Imhoff. Here. Bernwald. Here. Clark Hubbard is here, along with our zoning administrator, Dave Kelsey. Everybody should have got a copy of tonight's agenda. Anybody have any questions, comments, or changes? If not, is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Is there support for it? Support. Motion's been made and supported to approve the agenda. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we got 3 sets of minutes to approve tonight. We have, the regular meeting from May 12th, or I'm sorry, hold on. Yeah, regular meeting from May 12th. I have a little typo on our agenda, or no, it's just on mine. Regular meeting, May 12th, special meeting, May 19th, and special meeting for the budget workshop on June 2nd. Is there, everybody get a chance to review the minutes? Any questions or comments? And if not, is there a motion to approve the 3 sets of minutes?
I make a motion to approve the reading of 3 sets of minutes.
Is there support for that? Motion's been made and supported to approve the 3 sets of minutes as presented. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment on agenda items only. And just, we will be also doing a new business, a public comment, public hearing on the proposed budget. So if you wanna make comments related to the budget, you can save them for the public hearing, or you can make them in both places. But we'll go ahead and open it up for agenda items. All right, we'll go ahead and close public comment on agenda items and move into our treasurer's report. Jamie?
Okay, the township account beginning balance was $338,823, with income of $38,458, expenses of $24,405, with an ending balance of $352,876. Fire district had a beginning balance of $8, with income of $705, with an ending balance of $714. Honeymoon Heights Lights had a beginning and ending balance of $11,556. The tax account had a beginning balance of $9,957, income of $5, expenses of $9,954, for an ending balance of $7. CD 301 had a beginning and ending balance of $59,171. CD 302 had a beginning and ending balance of $59,175. And CD 303 had a beginning and ending balance of $50,978.
Any questions on the treasurer's report for Jamie?
I got one question. Maybe that CD is gonna expire the end of July. Does the next month we'll have to bring something so we can approve to extend that?
So that is that's the trail CD, so
Yep.
that's up in July 23rd. So our meeting, we're gonna be approving
Yeah.
meeting dates, but it should be,
Before that, but you just have to have information.
yeah, so
Just
maybe
about.
our July meeting, if you can, I guess, maybe check the rates. I do have to talk to the village manager. He did send me an email, just kind of giving me an update on the process with applying for the trust grant, that they're, been working on. So I'm not sure, again, if we'll spend anything in the near future, so it might be worth putting it in another 6-month CD. So, but yeah, you can, on July, yep, good catch. Any other questions for Jamie? Is there a motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented? Motion's been made, is there support? Support. Motion's been made and supported to approve the treasurer's report, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. And then just real quick, Jamie, so, you guys will be working here to get summer tax bills out by July 1st?
Yep.
So working,
Wednesday.
is the due date, okay? And then we are gonna be using the BSNA payments for summer tax bills, is all that?
Yep, I have the go live meeting on Friday.
Okay, so that's good, and we did receive our final settlement from the county also, which I don't think that was in May. They were a little bit late in getting that, so probably won't be until June's,
Right.
treasurer's report. Okay, moving on to clerk's report, approval of June's bills list. So you should have an updated copy of the bills list, cause we did just get our, new workers' comp renewal in, today. So that is was added to the bills report that was sent out in your, the packets originally. We've got a total of $30,346.05. You'll note our first, bill from the road commission for the application of chloride. It's around Memorial Day, they billed us for that, that's on there. And otherwise, fairly routine expenses. Anybody have any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve the June bills list totaling $30,346.05?
I make a motion to approve the June's bill list for $30,346.
Is there support for that?
Support.
Motion's been made and supported. Further discussion? We'll do roll call. Myers?
Yes.
Solom?
Yes.
Imhoff?
Yes.
Burnwell?
Yes.
Clark Hubbard, yes. Motion carries. One other item, so, Ginger and I have signed up to attend an MTA class on, primarily on cemetery management and also on this new, employee sick time, rules that are, have come out in the past 4 months or so. And that is on, I think, June 24th, I think. We had enough left over in our budget to, do that as a total cost of, between the two of us, it's a $250. So, just wanted to let you guys know that, and then we'll, in accordance with our, pay schedule, if it's over 4 hours, it's a $50 to $50, if it's under, it's 30, so just wanted to give the boards a heads up on that, we will be attending that, and we'll put that on next month's, bills list, to get that taken care of, but you charge that on the credit card, so that'll show up on next month's credit card. Otherwise, any other updates in the clerk department? Election grant, and school reimbursement, still,
Today that was my plan to try to work on that, but I just had too many other things, so.
okay,
I will have it by next meeting, I
Okay.
guarantee.
sounds good. Okay, that is it for clerks. Move into other reports. We'll start with, Dave for, zoning report.
For this last month is 7748 West Town Line Road, a new home. 7755 West Elmy Road, an ag barn and a shed. At 8804 North Greenville Road, a 20 by 32 garage. For the violations on 7106 Cutler Road, it was on hold till the 8th, and at the moment, nothing's been done yet, but I think they will be working on it soon. I'll call later on this week, call the cleanup guy and see what his schedule is. At 11589 Juniper, there is a court date, I got a summons for court on June 27th. I did make a little bit of an attempt to clean it up, but it still has to have more done. There's a few tires laying out there and a pallet thrown on top of, some different things, but anyway, we'll see what the court says. I'm sure they'll find them and, hopefully he cleans the rest of it up. If not, I'll mention to him, that there's still some there, and magistrate will tell him to clean it up, and most likely give him 30 days, and 30 days, if it's, cleaned up, they'll probably tell me to call the courts, and that way they can drop the whole thing, but if it's not cleaned up, then they'll schedule another court date. Storage of RV, that's on, 6685 Hemlock. I don't know if you know, the motorhome, caught on fire and burnt the garage down. They do have a dumpster there. They're cleaning it up. It's quite a bit's been cleaned up. I don't know if we did. I think generally, it's just all in the dumpster. There's a little bit of cleanup mess, I think, on the ground, but not bad. There was a complaint at 9524 M46. It's a electric company. They had a spotlight in the back, security spotlight, and shining in the people's window. And it was, I went over there in the evening, and it was lighting up their whole house. It was real bad. And you couldn't hardly look at the spotlight even. It was just good spotlight. But it was corrected. They adjusted it and moved it a little bit, so now they're compliant. And other than that, that's it.
Any questions for Dave on the zoning report?
So that motorhome, did it burn up?
Yeah, it's, the frames and all is out of there. They have a good sized dumpster, it's full, but that's probably the garage and some of the debris. I didn't see it right after it burned, but I'm sure the
That took care of
motorhome had.
That took care of the motorhome, and didn't it?
Yeah, they cleaned it up, all right.
So what
Not the way to go.
what happens with outstanding tickets? Does the Stanton kind of take care of that, or, I mean, they have to pay them?
Outstanding tickets,
'Cause they pay that to the county, right? We don't-
yeah. How many, storage of RV, he received 1 ticket, or more than that, that was the last one, so he still has to pay the $750. And, or make payments until it's paid off, and that was fines, done in
Accumulated,
the
yeah.
past, even though we stopped the blight, there's still fine there.
Any other questions for Dave?
We've received a call, I think you've received one, Dave received one of a gentleman on Hickory about, his motorhome, and that you had ticketed.
Pop-up.
Yes, pop-up,
Mhm.
okay. I just want to inform the board that I received the call too, and I did make a copy of the ordinance for him, and I did mail it to him, in case he calls again.
Yeah.
All
I
the
did talk
questions-
to him and try to
Right,
explain
all the
everything
questions
to
he
him.
had, I highlighted everything for him in that, so just be aware of him, because he's called me numerous times, so I just want you to know that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, before we get into Marcy's report on land division, so, Dave is applying a different township he works in for, a code enforcement position, or, with regard to, being both the zoning administrator and code enforcement. He had asked if we could do a letter of recommendation, so everybody should have a copy of that, and, I was gonna go ahead and sign that and pass it along to Dave. Anybody have any questions on that? I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we approve a letter of recommendation, the letter of recommendation as presented. Is there support for that?
Support?
Motion has been made and supported. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. to Marcy with, any update on land divisions.
I have sent 2 applications out, but they have not, sent them back. And I know that one of them has done the survey already, so I've been in communication with them. They just haven't made out the application and sent in the fee yet,
Okay,
so.
and they are paying the $50. I know we've got our permit, new increased fee, but they're.
Correct, just because, yeah,
Okay.
when we discussed it in the beginning, you know, he did know the fee in the beginning, so, yes. So, yeah.
All right, thank you. Moving into planning commission, zoning board of appeals update, Dave Bernald.
We haven't had a meeting since our last time, so our next one's in July.
Okay. Yeah, and, just kind of a few things, just make sure you have on your list to talk about. And these will be tack-on things to the next, when you guys are ready to do another amendment, but the home occupations in the Lake Residential District, that was inadvertently admitted. Revisiting the tent permit requirement. Determining if a special use is still necessary for residents in the commercial district. And also, just clarifying the minimum house square footage in the commercial district. I think we had discussed that would be same as suburban residential at this time, but you guys will need to talk about that, so. Nothing for zoning board of appeals, other than, I did send out 2 applications for potential alternates. We would like to get an alternate on there, and I know we've always typically had a board member, on the zoning board of appeals, and I know there was some discussion, Ginger, that you've been on there, for a while, and we're kind of wanting to not be involved in so many different committees that you're on, and that Marcy was also interested, so hopefully, if I could bring those, applications back, for the alternates at the next meeting, maybe we can look into, I guess we could tonight, if you want to, when we get to it, talk about Marcy taking your place on the ZBA, so. But anyway, hopefully, next board meeting, I will have a couple of applications for alternate members. And then, I guess one other thing in the zoning realm, I did get, an email from one of the board, members of the Honeymoon Heights Board, sent me a email wondering if, a board member could potentially come to their annual meeting on Saturday, June 28th at 10 a.m. and just to do like a 15-minute Q&A on the Lake Residential District. I think it sounds like they just want to clarify a few things. It wouldn't be a, town hall debate or anything like that. I think it's just clarify some questions. I probably can make that, but I wanted to throw it out to the board.
What day is it?
That's a Saturday, June 28th.
I'll be out of town.
But, unless anybody else, would rather go, I can attend and just be there to answer some questions. Again, it's not gonna be a town hall debate, it's going to be more of a question about the Lake Residential. Okay, moving on to the fire district report with Ginger.
It looks like they're gonna be able to come pretty close to the 30,000 by doing it in-house, at least right now, as far as they know. And I asked specifically about being certified, and they said, oh yeah, he says everything will have to be done. I mean, every time they do a certain thing, it has to be certified by not anyone there, but, so all of that's
Okay, so
pretty much,
at least a
yeah.
question was raised.
Yep. Yeah, and I had a bills list, but it's gonna hopefully come right around the 30,000.
Okay.
So that's pretty good. And they decided to insure it once it's done for 60,000 instead of the 30.
Thank you for that update. And moving on to the supervisor's report, assessing department, July border review, will be scheduled, I believe it's the third Tuesday, in July, but I'll clarify that at our next meeting. Roads, so the second chloride application should happen, around that first week in July. We haven't started any of our projects yet, those won't happen until after July, which is good because that'll be in our new fiscal year. Nothing on the cemetery, probably here shortly with the end of our fiscal year coming up, I'll reach out to the auditor, get that going. Nothing significant in the legal department at the moment. Trail update, so yeah, village manager Dode had just said that, they've gone through the first review phase for the trail on the trust fund grant. They had a DNR staff person out, last week, to go over the map, and what parts would be grant eligible, and they're gonna give him some suggestions on what would help with scoring for the grant. And that scoring or review would happen this fall, so that's why I say again, I'm not sure, as far as rolling that CD forward, it probably is okay that we do. Yeah, just said that they were very impressed with the layout of the trail and how much has been accomplished so far, so that's update on the trail. Events and meetings, MOCCOM MTA chapter, June 17th at McKenna's, Pat Outman is speaking. The RSVP is due tomorrow, so I need to know, who's on, you're going? Yeah. Okay, so everybody's put 5 down, and then, we need the registration check tomorrow, and then I think I also was reading last month's minutes, we have to pay the $50 dues once a year. I think we probably need to check with Andy on
Oh, for that one, and then the other.
For the
Do we do
local
that after
chapter. Yeah, what's that?
Do I do that after the new? It's not done,
In
this is
this fiscal year?
in the fiscal,
Yeah,
in this fiscal year, or wait till when I pay the
I
state
think you
ones?
can pay this one now, the $50. Yep,
That was 6 o'clock in the evening.
that is at 6 o'clock, yep. Okay, I will get that RSVP submitted. And then I think everybody on the board, she said she emailed everyone, this, but at the Drain Commission, it's hosted by the Drain Commission, the Road Commission, and the Building Department, where they are having, a law firm and an engineering firm come, I believe this is at the Road Commission building, to talk about stormwater compliance, how it affects communities, and, sounds like it's just becoming more and more of a topic as we're getting more development, more building, and, they're gonna even be proposing an ordinance that, townships can adopt with regard to stormwater compliance. So, the RSVP is not due till August 15th, but did everybody get that from the Drain Commission? You didn't, Marcy? Okay, I'll forward that to you. Did you get it, Dave?
Not for that, too.
Okay. I'll make sure you get it, and then we can finalize, the RSVP as it gets closer.
When was the meeting of the RFP with the?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thursday, August 21st at 6 PM. RSVP is due the 15th at the Montcalm County Road Commission. All right, moving into old business. We don't have any. First item in new business was a release of a parcel from a PA 116 agreement. And I'm thinking we might have to table this because, the agreement that they list in the, resolution to be released, I don't see that agreement number on the most recent listing I could find on the PA 116 agreements, but basically the board has to vote that it's okay that it's released, and, there's a couple little certifications we have to make, but I could not find that particular agreement number on this listing, so I need to, contact, Hilton Law and just verify. I don't think this is something that has to be, has to be done this meeting. We could probably do it at the next meeting, but I just wanna clarify that before we do any official vote guidance on what it is we're releasing, as far as the agreement, so I'm gonna say we table that until I can, dig into it a little bit further. And if for some reason he says, oh, I have to have it, we could always do a special meeting, but I don't think that's the case. So we'll table that. And move into our, 2025-2026 budget public hearing. Go ahead and open that up for any comments on the proposed budget, which, we had our workshop, last Monday, and budget's been available in the office. We published it in the, published the notice in the newspaper. If there are any questions or comments on, budget-related items, now would be the time to, bring them up.
Is the budget only available in the office?
It is available in the office, yes.
So is there any reason why it couldn't be put on the website so somebody that can't get to the office can view it on the website? I mean, is that not something we can do, like other townships do it, so it's out there for people to see?
We can look into doing that in the future, or it's just as easy to come in here on Monday in
But
the future,
for
or
somebody
ask-
that works
ask it
during the day,
for it
you
to be
can't come in
emailed.
here on Monday.
Or you can ask for it to be emailed to you, so there are options, so to not, but we
Whatever.
can definitely look into posting it online in the future if that's what you want. Any other comments? Go ahead and close the, budget public hearing. All right, couple items, just housekeeping items as we're getting ready to start our new fiscal year, starting July 1st. 2025-2026 board meeting dates, everyone should have a resolution to adopt those regular, those regular board meeting dates. Hopefully everybody got a chance to, look those over, but those are the same as before, second Monday of the month. Is there a, I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the 2025-2026 regular meeting schedule. Is there support? Motion's been made and supported. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do roll call. Myers?
Yes.
Bowen?
Yes.
Imhoff?
Yes.
Burnwald?
Yes.
Clark Hubbard, yes. Motion passes. Next, we will have a resolution to adopt the township's investment and depository designation. So this is, something we adopt every year, pretty much identical to last year as far as, approved financial institutions, Mercantile Bank and Community First Federal Credit Union. And just our, criteria for investment, safety first and foremost, diversification next, then liquidity, then return on investment. Is there, a motion to approve the resolution to adopt the township's investment and depository designation for 2025-2026? Motion's been made, is there support? Support. Motion has been made and supported. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do roll call. Burnwald?
Yes.
Clark Hubbard, yes. Imhoff?
Yes.
Bowen?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item is a resolution to impose the 3% late penalty charge on property tax collections. Again, this is something, that, if taxes are not paid, any taxes, paid after February 14th, but before March 1st, we'll get a 3%, late penalty. This is something we've, as far as I can tell, I've always charged that, just an encouragement to get the taxes paid, timely. I will go ahead and make the motion for the resolution to impose the 3% late penalty charge on property tax collections. Is there support?
Support.
Motion's been made and supported. Further discussion?
Yeah, February 14th this year is a Saturday, so
Okay,
actually taxes are being collected on the 16th for the final day.
okay,
And while March first is a Sunday, so the final day of tax collection is March 2nd.
So, I will amend that motion to approve the resolution to impose a 3% penalty charge for taxes paid after February 16th and before March 2nd. Is there support on that amended motion?
Support.
Motion's been made and supported. Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call. Myers?
Yes.
Bowen?
Yes.
Imhoff?
Yes.
Bernwald?
Yes.
Clark Hubbard, yes. Motion carries. Next item is the budget amendments to 2024 and 2025. So everybody should have had a copy of this in their packet. Just kind of laid out the 3 amendments that we had done throughout the year, to where our current amended budget stands, and what we're projecting for actual revenues and expenditures through end of June, to kind of show where it's over or under. We are not, let's see here. Oops, I think my second here. Yeah. The treasurers and the assessing, cost centers projection after final payroll will be slightly over the budget, so those definitely have to be amended. But the other items in red, we budget by cost center, so you gotta look at the total, as far as over, under spending, but, you'll notice the different line items. A lot of this is just kind of cleaning it up for future budgeting purposes, moving, shifting, within that cost center. So, I just wanted to point that out. And then taking off the Tamarack Trail, we had originally had that in our budget, that we were gonna bring in the revenue and also, the expense, but that didn't happen, and I just wanted to take that off there again for future, budgeting purposes. But you'll notice at the very bottom of the, amendment number 4 column, there's no effect to our bottom line. What we're changing for revenue and what we're changing for expenses washes out. But we're still projecting, a surplus in our budget, of 30,000 for fiscal year end June of 2025, which we're gonna carry over. We talked about last time, that additional road spending to get the $100,000 match. That makes up our, shortfall in fiscal year end 2026. Any questions? That's on the general fund. And then for the fire fund, we have not done any amendments during the year for that, but, we had, voted to transfer all of the fund balance in there. It's a little over $50,000, 59,000, to the fire district. If you recall, we had amended our agreement several months ago. So, that needed to be factored in as far as, the expenses that have been paid out of their expenditures. Anybody have any questions? If not, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the, proposed budget amendment number 4 for 2024-2025's general fund budget as presented. Is there support for that? Support. Motion has been made and supported. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do roll call. Bernwald?
Yes.
Clark Hubbard, yes. Imhoff?
Yes.
Bowen?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Motion carries. And then I will make a motion to approve, proposed budget amendment number 1 for 2024-2025 in the fire fund as presented. Is there further discussion? Or I'm sorry, I make a motion, is there support? Motion's been made and supported, is there further discussion? Hearing none, roll call. Myers?
Yes.
Bowen?
Yes.
Imhoff? Bernwald?
Yes.
Clark Hubbard, yes. Motion carries. 2025-2026 proposed budget and general appropriations resolution. So that's a fancy way of saying we're adopting our 2025-2026 budget. This resolution before you does, include the estimated, property tax millage for the township's allocated operating millage, estimated at 0.7406, and the, fire millage, estimated at 0.9609 mils, for a total, estimated of 1.7015 mils. And so that's kind of the resolution we'll vote on when we get, what the budget is attached to. So also in your materials, you should have our draft budget by cost center, kind of the summary one with the grid lines and table on it. Here's the general fund, the fire fund, and the Honeymoon Heights Lights Fund. And then behind that is the backup of all the line items for each cost center. And you'll notice, I have the, changes that the board tentatively agreed on at our workshop, in the second column from the left, to get to what was our draft budget. And then in red, those were some, additional items I'm proposing we change. We had talked about raising our, fees for land divisions, so I factored, another, $250 there in revenue. And then I also added, because Marcy, for her compensation for that is half, I added another $250 on the wages for land splits. And then, a little bit of FICA tax, the $100 for the, because that runs through payroll. And then I did talk to the Drain Commission on page 2, down in other functions. We had tentatively put 5,000 in there, and they told me, well, we paid 3,300, we get, one bill a year, I believe in December. And based on the maintenance of drains this year, they said that is more than enough at 3,300. So I'm proposing we adjust that 5,000 down 1,700 to make it 3,300. So again, we did the increased road spending this year to get the match, $100,000 match. So we actually have, expenses exceeding revenues by 23,908 when I factor in, oh, I didn't do that right, take that back. I take 27,208 minus 1,700, 25,508. So revenues exceeding expenses, the 25,508 estimated. Again, that's a deliberate move to do increased road spending to get the match, and we're projecting a carryover of roughly about $30,000 from this fiscal year that we're wrapping up, so that should essentially wash out. Any other questions on the draft budget? Alright, so, and then, so that is general fund, and then, fire fund, break even, revenues equal expenses, cause we are, whatever we take in, we're paying it right out, that should be a zero balance, fund going forward. And then Honeymoon Heights, lights, so that we're vote if we wanna keep this, the, per parcel special assessment the same for this year, which is at $2.50 a parcel, Jamie? Do you have that handy, or is it $2? Whatever. I don't have it handy, but we can just vote. I guess I would propose we leave it the same as last year, no change. We do keep building a little bit of fund balance in that fund, and I know they've reached out about possibly adding some other streetlights out there at different intersections, so, I guess we'll play that by ear on, it can only be spent on lights, so, we'll see how that goes if they wanna add some out there.
If you're going to that meeting, maybe talk to them about that,
Talk to them, yeah, it's a good, something up there,
or at least let them know that
yeah.
there's a discussion, so.
Yep. So I'll make a motion to leave the Honeymoon Heights, special lighting per parcel, assessment the same for 2025-2026. Is there support for that?
Support.
Motion's been made and supported. Is there further discussion? We'll do roll call. Myers?
Yes.
Boehm?
Yes.
Imhoff?
Yes.
Burnwald?
Yes.
Clark Hubbard, yes. Motion carries. So yes, I will bring that up when I attend their meeting on the 28th. All right. We do, let's get the budget approved first. So, again, going back to that resolution to adopt the 2025-2026 budget resolution and General Appropriations Act with the attached, general fund, fire fund, and Honeymoon Heights Lights funds budgets attached. I will make that a motion that we approve as presented. With the adjustment for the drainage. Is there support for that? Motion's been made and supported. Further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call. Burnwald?
Yes.
Clark Hubbard, yes. Imhoff?
Yeah.
Boehm?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Motion carries. We need to, do a new resolution for the, township officer's salary. We had an adjustment on the supervisor wages to $11,000, per year salary, up from $10,300. So I have the new resolution here. Is there a motion to approve, this resolution, which we've essentially approved in our budget already?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Is there support? Motion's been made and supported. Further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call. Myers?
Yes.
Boehm?
Yes.
Imhoff?
Yes.
Burnwald?
Yes.
Clark Hubbard, yes. We don't have to, do a special, separate resolution for Dave's, increase. That's only for board members. And then, let's see. And then I have an updated pay schedule. We approved this last year. You can see I already forgot to update the date at the top. That should say 2025 to 2026. But just basically this lists out all of the pay, for board members, deputies, assessors, land administrator, land division, planning commission, everything. So in red were the items that changed from our budget. So is there, I'll make a motion that we approve the 2025-2026 pay schedule as presented.
Support?
Motion's been made and supported. Further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call. Myers?
Yes.
Boehm?
Yes.
Imhoff?
Yes.
Burnwald?
Yes.
Clark Hubbard, yes. And then the last item. should also note on that, review, but the post audit items, payroll, related items, election workers, utilities, and, prepaid postage, I also added, those are things that can be paid ahead of the board meeting, as per usual. So just at the bottom of that note. And then 2025-2026 fee schedule, so we've made a few adjustments over the past meetings to this. Most recent being the proposed land split, new fees in red there, $100 for the initial split and $50 for each additional split. And then property line adjustments, same thing, $100 for the first line adjustment, $50 for each additional adjustment. Those were the updates since the last time we voted on this, which was a meeting or two ago.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to approve the fee schedule as presented? I'll make the motion that we approve the fee schedule as presented. Is there support? Motion's been made and supported. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And then last item is 2025-2026 board liaisons. So fire board, currently Ginger is the board liaison and our citizen member is Clark Newell. It's kind of been a serve at the pleasure of the board arrangement. Ginger, are you still good with being our board representative for this next fiscal year?
Yes.
Okay. The library board, yeah, those are, I think, are 3-year terms, but they've, again, kind of serving at the pleasure of the board. They don't want on it after 3 years. We haven't really, that's when we've gone and looked for other candidates, but it's Laura Lepping and Ted Johnson, the library board. Road liaison, that's been myself and David Bernwald. I'm willing to do it again for the next fiscal year. Planning commission, I guess I should be asking if anybody else wants to step up and wants to do these things, feel free to jump in. Planning commission board, we have to have a board representative on that board. David has done it for quite a few years. Assuming you would wanna continue to stay doing it,
He's doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, absolutely.
so we'll continue David being on the planning commission. Zoning board of appeals, so here's where we don't have to have a board member on there. We have to have a member of the planning commission on there, but we've always, I think it's been the township's practice to always have a board member on the 3-person ZBA. Ginger originally became involved with the township, being on the zoning board of appeals, and then she got elected as clerk, and she's on the fire board, and she has a zillion other hats that she's wearing, so I think it's her desire to no longer be on the zoning board of appeals if we have someone else interested.
When I knew there was a good candidate interested, it kind of helped me step down.
And Marcy, you are
Yes.
interested
I
in,
am.
okay. The only thing is Marcy is our land division administrator, so if ever there was a request, variance, appeal, whatever related to a land split, Marcy would have to recuse herself, and that's why we're trying to find alternate members. You can have up to 2 alternates, and they would step in during that situation, so
Ginger, are you gonna become an alternate?
I would be one of the alternates. I think you should get another one though too.
okay, I've got potentially 2 people that are
Okay.
interested in being alternates, so we'll see if they
Okay, good.
turn their paperwork in. So I will make a motion to have Marcy Myers added to the zoning board of appeals in place of Ginger Greenwald, effective today. Is there support for that?
I support.
Motion's been made and supported. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that, I believe is everything I had for new business. Is there anything else the board wants to bring up or mention before we go into final public comment?
Yes, I, just wanted to mention, I forgot, been doing a lot of that lately, but that we have taken over 100% now from the library. I mean, we completely, all the bookings online,
For hall rentals.
for our hall, right, for all of our hall rentals, so we paid them what we owed them and got all their information, and so we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Thank you guys for working on that, taking that on. Anything else? Okay, we'll move into, final public comment, open it up to any and all topics. Please state your name and address the board.
Greg Sims, do you want the address as well?
You can just say what township you're from.
Cato. So I have a couple questions. Dave already brushed on the 7106 Cutler. I'm curious, since this has been going on, I sent the first email 1/21/22. Was there ever any fines for those guys? I mean, it's been
Okay,
3.5 years.
What, yeah, you can,
okay, on 10/22/24, I issued a ticket, and I didn't check with the courts to see what the fine totaled up to. I could check and get back at the next board meeting, but, I know right now what it is, the person that owned the property sold it on land contract, you know the whole story there. And then the courts recently, they were gonna start cleaning it up, and the courts gave them till 6/8/25 for the guy that was renting the property or binding it on land contract to come in and get anything that he thought was good.
Right.
And, now I'm gonna call the builder, or not the builder, the, cleanup company, and see when they're gonna start, because that deadline's done, and last time I talked to him, he said according to the courts, after that, they can legally go clean it up and not worry about the guy taking him to court,
Right.
Saying you threw a lot of good
So
stuff.
you think there has been a fine, you just don't know?
Yeah, I never did look into it, I'm sure there was a fine, there's no doubt,
3.5 years just seems like a long time, 4.5
Well,
years.
fine was it for 2 years?
okay.
And then my next question, so we brought up a couple years ago, a couple of neighbors, we live on Birch Shore, or we have a place on Birch Shore. We're the only street around the lake that's not paved yet. So I believe there's other roads being repaved, and ours is still dirt. The dust is unbelievable. They did spray it, right before Memorial Weekend. Right now, it's a mess. So I'm just curious, there was, I think, $40,000, and this was the previous group that was in here. There was $40,000, I believe, sent to a fund for our road. We were short just a couple signatures, cause we were trying to get all the way out to, what road would that be? Schmead. But I'm just curious, what do we need to do to revisit this, or maybe just get Birch Shore itself paved? What
Yeah, I
would
guess
we need to do?
Your first question, I'm not aware of any $40,000 transferred
It was by
to
the
a
previous
fund.
board.
It would have been at the time you were trying to get signatures.
Okay.
It was nothing has been allocated in our budget. That,
Gotcha.
my understanding was that
Maybe
project
that's-
fell through, so.
Maybe
that would
they
have-
maybe they said that that's what they would put towards it.
At the time, as you guys were trying to get, and they had the ARPA money, keep in mind at that time, which has since been.
It had nothing to do with our
Um,
money.
Could you be quiet while I?
Yeah,
ask
it
you now,
did.
please? If you have a public comment, you're
I'm
welcome to
coming.
make it next. So yeah, that was your first question about the 40,000. And then as far as, you said that's the only road that's not paved around the lake, because isn't there some off of Cutler that are not paved as well?
I think everything around the lake is
Okay.
is
I
paved
guess we'll have
except
to
for
check
ours.
our maps, cause I was thinking there might be some other
At the
ones.
very end where the old, church campground used to be, that turns into dirt, but that's really not Lake Shore. Oh, it's not Cato either.
So, yeah, that, I guess I would just want to clarify that, and, you know, the other thing which we've had extensive discussions both in May when we approved our roads contracts and at our budget workshop, which was last Monday, we have to maintain the paved roads that we have, is kind of our first priority, is maintaining versus new paving projects. Not to say that there couldn't be, looking into, actually, I did get a phone call from another gentleman, I believe, that lives on Birch Shore.
Probably Dave. Dave is his first name.
Could be, and he had asked, you know, what could be done to get that road paved, and he had mentioned a petition in the past of getting signatures, and that he'd never heard anything after he signed. But it, basically, my understanding is it could be a special assessment on taxes, that the people who live on that street could, the township would have to impose a special assessment, they would build up money in the fund, and once there was enough, we could contract with the road commission to pay it. Now, the first thing is you gotta find out what's the projected cost, and, I don't have my notes in front of me, but I did follow up with the road commission, they were gonna just give me a rough estimate, I believe, which I'll have to verify, I believe he said roughly, if they were to do it today, 60,000 to pave that. So, again, I don't have my, actually I do have my notes.
The other roads that are getting repaved, would the property owners have to support that also?
Other roads that are getting, nope, see, we don't, Cato Township doesn't get any money for roads. We don't have a road millage. The people in Cato Township have not voted in a road millage. So what we do is we get, our main primary, revenue sources are the operating tax, which is generally to cover tax assessments, assessing administration, and elections. So, and then whatever that doesn't make up, we use our state revenue sharing money, which is essentially a sales tax allocation that comes to the township. And we have to cover all of our operating expenses out of that, and what's left over, we as a board have chosen to spend that on roads. The roads are all technically owned and maintained by the county, but they expect, townships to come to the table and contribute to projects. So we don't, as far as getting money specifically for roads, we don't get any money for roads. So we, now there's other projects besides roads, I think that we could spend our money on, but that's kind of been our focus right now. With a goal of getting our paved road average ratings up, we've had a lot of low-rated roads. And when you make an investment into a repaving project, within the next couple years thereafter, they recommend doing a chip and seal project to extend the life of the road. So we're focused right now on the investments that we've made in paving, maintaining those through the chip and seal, and then working away on the low-rated paved roads, because those are gonna be more expensive because they haven't been maintained. So that's kind of our philosophy, if anybody wants to, you know.
Yeah, it looks like Cutler, which is across our cove,
Yep.
they started to work on that one today. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but.
That is one of the lower rated roads, in our list, that we get a.
So is that getting the chip and seal? Do you know?
I think that's gonna be a pavement project, yeah, because it's been, you know, it's not a candidate for chip and seal, I don't have the road contract in front
It's
of me.
pretty bad.
So, yes, I do need to contact, I believe his name was Dave, but.
I have his last name, it's in my list, but, so what could we do to start this conversation back up on getting, and maybe we just get Birch Shore paved, and it's just the dust is horrendous.
Road millage.
Yeah, it was rough estimate of 60,000, just over a quarter of a mile. That was, I followed up with them today, and so I need to contact Dave back,
The
but.
distance was a quarter of a mile?
What's that?
The distance was a quarter?
They said it was just over a quarter a mile
That's not gonna do it.
for Birch Shore.
There's no way. Where ferry comes into Birch Shore, my house is around the corner, there's no way that's I could be wrong, but I measure it today, but.
That's, unless I wrote it down wrong, but that's what, my understanding
I could be
was.
wrong, I don't know.
Um,
I'm not sure.
But, yeah, it would be looking at going down the special assessment, and that's not a road millage, that's a specific assessment for those who would live on that road and benefit from that road, would be added to their taxes to build up funds and then, pay for the project.
I believe probably what shot it down is getting out of our area, because I think everybody on our street signed for it, except for maybe the two neighbors up on top of the hill, which the road would have stopped just because of the way it is, so they would have paid for it and not had blacktop up to their house, so I get that. But I think trying to go back out to Schmid, I think getting all those people on board was the issue.
Yeah, it was a bigger project than just Bird Shore, they wanted to do.
Yeah, so it would have went
Cutler.
Bird Shore Ferry out to Cutler and then to
Yeah.
Schmid, Bacchus,
Yeah, so you can see the cost for just a little over a quarter of a mile, what we're looking at for
Yeah,
that initial.
they had quite a few figures, we had a couple meetings about it, I don't remember what the figures were, but.
So,
In the, one misconception, I think, was in the Daily News, when some of the townships spent like $500,000 or $600,000, they have road millage. And that was never mentioned in there, I don't think, which townships had a road millage and which ones didn't.
And that's something that we might wanna explore in the
A
future
bigger thing,
for the
yeah.
township as a whole, but,
could get
they do
started.
seem to be hard to get road millages passed. I think there's been a lot of townships that have tried. Now, there is, Pat Outman, our state representative, is working on, getting increased fundings for roads, so, maybe in the future, but that wouldn't be for this fiscal year, that would likely be sometime next year, but hopefully we'll find out more about what's going on, at the MTA meeting here in a week or so on that, so.
They tried fixing our drains, cause we also have, where my house is, it's from the road, majority of the property, it runs downhill to the lake. So my yard floods like crazy, and it's just the way the road's designed to run off. They tried to put some drains in, but it runs off, all the ditches are filled back in from the dirt that is washing off of the road. So it's literally just a mess,
Okay.
on top of the
Has
rest.
that been worked on
It's been
recently, or?
4 years, 4 years, maybe, 3 years. So
that-
they came in and dug it like right in front of my house across the street. They kinda dug a new ditch, and then my neighbor's house, they went across they put a drain in and went across the road, and then had it drain down to the lake. He's got a park next to his house, so it ran through there and, draining down to the lake, but it doesn't seem to work very well.
Okay, so to give them an idea, what's your address, it would be kind of across from your,
6642 is my address.
so
for
that you're
sure.
saying there's some drainage, ditching issues.
Yeah.
Worked on
That
for
I
3
could,
years.
that I could make, could you,
It's been a while.
we're talking,
Yeah, but, finance bill.
I will mention that to the road commission. Anybody else?
Okay, I'm gonna
State your name.
piggyback off him unless you wanna go.
Please state your name and what township you're from.
Jennytown, Cato Township. Okay, back when there was a previous board was up here, they made a motion to set aside, to pay $40,000 towards fixing this problem. I don't know what you got, it's in your meetings, it should be in the meeting minutes somewhere. I don't believe they ever set money aside for it, but the motion was made by the board, they would pay $40,000 initially. So it's in there somewhere, you just have to go back and dig through the minutes. Secondly, back on Dave Kelsey with that property on Cutler, okay, so now it goes back to this guy that owns the property. Is he given a deadline now to get that cleaned up? Cause it's been going on now for 3 years and a
They
half.
passed the deadline, but, I think they had Rasmussen there representing them, and it went to court because the guy that owns it, he wants to clean it up real bad, but, with that guy in there, they had to get the courts to order him to do it, they did, and then there was another delay recently where the guy was saying there's a lot of good stuff there yet. I don't know, one man's junk's another man's treasure, I guess, but, so the courts gave him till the 8th, or 6th, or the 8th, of this month to, have everything he wanted to keep out of there. And then from that point on, the rest is considered discarded.
Okay, so does this guy that owns the property have a deadline to get it cleaned up? That was my question.
It was past the deadline, but the courts got
No,
involved in
my
that.
question
He's
is-
gonna follow up on it, he's gonna follow up on it, we're
Yeah.
done talking about Cutler Road.
So you don't have he doesn't have a deadline yet?
He just said that there was a deadline of yesterday, which was.
That was for the guy that was on the
Well,
property.
he's gonna follow up on it, we're gonna move on. Are you done with your public comment?
Yes.
Okay,
Matt Hubbard, Cato Township. I believe it was like 3 years ago, this issue with this gentleman here and his neighbor. And they did work on the drain to stop the water from going into your garage or somebody's garage.
direct to the board, please.
And then the board thing was if they got the signatures, I recall that's what was said. If they come up with the signatures, they would have then put 40,000 forth. There was never no signatures come up, but you can check records, but that's my public comment.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion is made, supported, further discussion, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries.